Okay, this week our video is going to be about solving one-step equations, and you can see one here. There's going to just take one step to solve this, and we'll talk more about that later. Eventually we're going to do multi-step equations, so this is the beginning of what we're going to be going over for the next few weeks. Okay, so to solve equations, oops, sorry, let me make this bigger. Hold on one second. To solve equations, we use inverse operations. Now, inverse operations are operations that undo each other. And so addition and subtraction are inverses. And later on, we'll talk about multiplication and division, and they're inverses too. So to undo adding 5, you subtract 5. And likewise, to undo subtracting 7, you would add 7. So addition and subtraction, they undo each other. So using math vocabulary, they're math words, that means they're called inverses. And you'll learn about all kinds of inverses in math, like inverse functions and certain kinds of exponents and all kinds of things. And you'll be using them to solve really complicated problems eventually. But for now, we're going to keep it simple, one step, and we're going to use inverses to solve them. And for this week, we're going to use addition and subtraction to solve our problems, but we'll get there in a minute. Okay, so what's really important with equations, this is my bad attempt at drawing a scale here, or a balance beam. I hope it kind of makes sense, but I'll talk about that in a minute. To keep equations balanced, you must do the same thing to both sides of the equal sign. So this is my equal sign here, right in the middle. So what I did here was I added 3 to this side. So if I were to add 3 to just this side of the equation, then my scale would start to tip and it wouldn't be balanced anymore. So to bring it back and keep it level and keep it balanced, I have to add 3 to both sides of the equal sign. And you'll see how that works again in a minute. But just remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, well, let's look at a few examples, and I think it'll be pretty straightforward. Now, this first one says x plus 7 equals 10. Now, I bet a lot of you can figure that out in your head. What this is asking is what number plus 7 is 10? Okay, I'm going to wait for a few seconds here and let you think about that, and then I'll show you how to solve it using algebra. So what number plus 7 is 10? All right, I bet a lot of you can look at it and just tell me the answer is 3, and that is the answer because 3 plus 7 is 10. If you didn't see that, that's okay. Um, we'll work on how to figure it out in just a second. But what we're looking for here is the number that you add to 7 to get to 10. Now, a lot of them you might be able to do in your head, but when we start throwing negative numbers in there, I bet you're not going to be able to, which is why I'm going to want you to show your steps. So this is what I'm going to want you to do. Okay, so here I am. I'm adding 7. So to undo adding 7, I subtract 7. Okay, and so if I subtract 7 on this side of the equal sign, I have to subtract 7 on that side of the equal sign too. So this is what I mean, one step. So to solve these, we're going to do one thing. We're either going to add a number or subtract a number to both sides. It will get more complicated later, but for now, just one thing. So take away 7 and take away 7. Now here, 7 take away 7, that's 0. So this just becomes nothing. And so all that's left on this side is x. And 10 take away 7 is 3. Okay, so we subtracted 7 from both sides to get x is 3. Again, this makes a 0. 7 take away 7 is nothing. So it essentially just goes away, and all that's left is an x. Now on your assignment, I'm going to want you to show your steps. Okay? Now, one other thing I'm going to show you here is how to check your equation, to check your answers. So here's the check. Now what you do is you take your answer, which is 3, oops, I made a dot there, sorry, which is 3, and you plug that in to the variable, or to the x in your original equation. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go 3 plus 7 equals 10. So I put the 3 in here for x. Okay, just replace the x with the 3. So 3 plus 7 is 10, so if I add this together, I get 10 equals 10. If you got two different numbers here, you know you made a mistake. So since I got the same number, it checks. Okay, checking is something eventually you don't have to always write down, but it is really good to do it at least in your head or eventually on a calculator as you do these problems later on, because then you don't even need an answer key. You can just see if you got it right or not by doing a check. Okay, let's look at this one here. This one's still addition, but it's got the number out in front. So let's think about making a zero. How can I make this 15 turn into a zero? What can I do to it to make it into a zero? Well, just like we did here, we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. Now this is an example of one that you may have trouble doing without, in your brain I should say, without showing your work. So I made a zero. 15 minus 15 is nothing. It's all gone. So that means I'm left with just x on this side. Now 4 take away 15. In other words, this side is 4 plus negative 15. So 4 plus negative 15, or 4 take away 15, is negative 11. Okay, again, this is the work I want to see on each problem. I want you to write that in there. For now, I want you to show me how you're getting it done. Eventually, some of these you'll be able to do in your head, and that's fine. You can stop showing every single step of your equation, but for now, I definitely want you to do it. Okay, here's the check. Okay, we take our answer and we plug it into the variable in the original equation. So 15 plus, I'm going to use parentheses here because it's a negative, negative 11 equals 4. Again, replace the x with your answer in the check right over here. So 15 plus negative 11, well that's 4, so 4 equals 4. It checks out. Okay? So there's the first two. I got a couple more, 3 more I think, and then we're going to be done for today. But I hope that's all right so far. So far these are solving using subtracting to undo addition. And now we're going to undo subtraction, as you probably have guessed, using addition. So some number, and we don't always use x in equations. That's probably the most common variable, but usually we will use other letters too. M take away 4 is negative 3. So this might be a little tricky. What number take away 4 is negative 3? I bet some of you can figure it out in your head, but I'm going to show you how to do it by showing your work. So again, we want to make a 0 here. What do I do to negative 4 to make it a 0? I add 4, positive 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is nothing. That's going to cancel those out and leave me with just the m. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side of the equal sign to keep it balanced. So I'm adding 4 here, I add 4 over there. And then we add things up here, that makes a 0. Again, that goes away, all that's left is our m. Here's our equal signs. Now negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Okay, let me write out the check over here. So again, 1 goes in for m in the original equation. So is 1 take away 4 equal to negative 3? Well, 1 take away 4 is indeed negative 3, so it checks. Okay? So learning how to do checks is super important. Okay, now here's the next couple. Now here I got a negative 6 in front. Again, let's think about making zeros. In some ways it's just like subtracting. So what we do to both sides is we're going to add a 6 to both sides. Okay, again, I want to make a 0. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. They're going to be all gone. So I get y equals, and 11 plus 6 is 17. Okay? So undo the negative by adding a positive. So again, we're going to plug this 17 in for y in the original equation in the check. So it's negative 6 plus, instead of y, the 17 goes in there, equals 11. And let's see, negative 6 plus 17, that's the same thing as 17 take away 6, so it is 11. It works. 11 equals 11, check. Again, if I got 9 equals 11 or something weird like that, then I would know that I made a mistake. You need to get the same number on each side. Okay, now here's the last one. I got n take away 13 is 2. So to make a 0 here, to make this negative 13 go to 0, I'm going to add 13. Again, to undo subtracting, I do addition is another way to think about it. So if I add 13 to this side of the equal sign, I need to make sure and do the same thing over there. Okay, these guys cancel out, they're all gone. I just have an n over there, and 2 plus 13 is 15. Okay, again, like I said, even though something like this you might be able to do in your head, for now, I want you to show your work. Okay, I'm going to just write that again. Show your steps when you solve the equation. Okay, I want to see this written out on your assignment for now. I want to see the plus 13 in this case written on both sides. Eventually, like I said, I won't be checking every step so much. But for now, since we're just starting, I really want to see you write them down on your assignments. Okay, lastly, the check. 15 goes in for n in the equation, so 15 minus 13 is 2, and I think all of you can see that 2 is the right answer. 2 equals 2, it checks out. Okay, so that is hopefully enough to get you started this week, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.